Hello YouTube, I am the Commissar of Bacon, and welcome to my premiere video. As you can tell, this video will be over Nidhogg. Nidhogg is a game released last year by Messhof Studios, which is centered around 2D side-scrolling melee combat, which seemingly would involve rapiers, and the idea of stabbing your enemy in the gut when and if possible. Now, you may be wondering, Nidhogg, that's a strange name. I wonder where that comes from. Well, for those of you who are less historically inclined, I can tell you that Nidhogg is derived from the name Nidhoggr, which was the name of a Norse dragon which was said to gnaw on the roots of Yggdrasil, the Tree of Life. Now, as to exactly why they chose the name Nidhogg, I am honestly completely clueless, as there's really nothing in the game which would seem to resemble the aforementioned dragon. Of course, there is the idea that the dragon feasted upon, in many instances, the souls and lives of those who were damned to, I suppose you could say, the equivalent of sinner's domain, if you will. The idea being that those who committed such crimes as loss of honor or honorless combat, as well as adultery, breaking of oath, and other such things, would be sent to this location, and Nidhoggr would feed upon them. Now, in that sense, possibly there's some kind of deeper meaning to this game which would involve that, but I'm not quite sure of it. However, I will say it is quite fun, and I would like to compare it to Chivalry for its intuitive combat and somewhat realistic, in a somewhat realistic sense. Of course, there is the mechanic of throwing swords, which is somewhat ridiculous, if not hilarious, as well as dive kicking, which we all know doesn't exactly work. But, nonetheless, it's a rather interesting game. Even though it came out last year, I've only just recently gotten my hands on it and found myself enjoying it quite a lot. What else to say? Well, these bastards get quite annoying, and it's kind of difficult to deal with them while I'm talking, really, but, yeah, as you can see, the mechanics involve dying in one hit, and there are 3 guards that you can take, high, middle, and low guard, which are representative of the guards that you would find in actual sword combat. As for other notes upon the game, I don't know, I don't really have much else to say, but, fuck, this bastard's annoying. I really don't have this much trouble, actually, getting through the first level, but I don't know, maybe it's because I'm on talking. Give me a moment to get off the struggle bus and get on to the next level, and I'll continue my commentary. Alright, now, that right there is what I would assume to be their interpretation of the Nidhogg, and in reference to that, I remembered what I was going to say, and that is, Nidhoggr supposedly resides below the roots of Yggdrasil, and that is why he chews on them. And this is also, as stated before, the supposed location of those who have committed some of the cardinal sins of the Nordic community. And as 2 of the 4 levels that combat in this game takes place in are underground, I think there's some kind of metaphorical interpretation of that being the location where Nidhoggr would feast upon the souls of the damned. Albeit, I'm not really too sure upon this, and I don't think the developers are really going for any kind of greater or higher meaning here. I don't think there's any kind of story, other than it just being a very fun game. As you've noticed, especially for a pixel game, it is somewhat rather violent, and if I could disarm this bastard, I'd like to show you some of the melee kills with your hands, which are rather brutal. God damn it. I fucking hate this level, because I can never see my sword. Fuck. Ha! Fuck you! Fuck you! Well, that ended quite terribly, but we got our revenge on him. Bastard. But, as I was saying, I like to compare this game to Chivalry. Its combat is certainly somewhat realistic. The idea that you can both parry and disarm your foes is rather interesting. And there's one of the melee executions with your hands. Those are, as stated before, quite brutal, and I rather enjoy them. This is a fairly well-made game, in my opinion, especially considering the pixel art. Normally, when I think of a 2D side-scrolling game, I don't think of fun melee combat, but certainly the hits are meaty. You can feel when they impact, they make a nice sound, and the blood is absolutely delicious. Playing against the AI, which sadly I am forced to do right now, sometimes get kind of boring because it's pretty generic back and forth, just, you know, you fuck him up, he fucks you up, and you generally have some form of advantage over them, but there's nothing too intuitive. And of course, I'm being a total fucking twat right now, and I can't figure out what I'm doing, which is why I'm getting my ass kicked, but normally they're not too terribly difficult because of the low guard is OP. And fuck. But, the objective of the game, if you haven't noticed, is to simply make it through the different stages of the screen, get to the final stage, and that is where Nidhoggr will eat you. Presumably. Not entirely sure why. Again, not much precedence for the game. Regardless, still fun. Although to pull a Rorschach from the Watchmen, I don't entirely think that it is the Nidhoggr who eats me from without. It is in fact I who devours the Nidhoggr from within. And we'll let you just enjoy a bit of the soundtrack and combat for a while. Resuming commentary, believe it or not, I'm actually a sword fighter myself. By no means would I claim to be an expert or even really mediocre at being able to fight, but I've been doing it on my own for a few years, and I have gotten some professional teaching, though not enough to make me able to stand on my own against anyone who's been practicing for even as many years as I have under an actual trainer. I have to say, the combat is quite realistic in this, and as such I rather enjoy it, although I'm kind of disappointed that you die in one hit. But I think any more would be somewhat ridiculous, if not, I do love falling off and suiciding, so that's interesting. It's kind of funny that the AI always ends up falling into that trap. You stand there for long enough, nope, because they don't seem to understand the idea that the ground can fall out from under them. Oh yeah, and you can cartwheel. I forgot about that. I think one of the ideas of the game is that the enemies will get progressively more difficult as you go on, but from my experience, that isn't necessarily always the case. For example, this guy is somewhat more difficult than the last, but from the little bit I played before recording this, it does seem that quite frequently they're not necessarily more difficult than the one before them, and at best are only more annoying. Stick the high guard so I can stab you in there. Well, that didn't work out. But yeah, so back to sword fighting. I've actually done it for a few years, not too long. I used to do a bit of competition here and there, though I never placed more than 1 or 2 tiers into the fighting, so nothing particularly astounding. Although I have been stabbed a few times. Surprisingly not painful experience, all things considered. I do a bit of airsoft as well, and getting shot in airsoft has been much more painful than getting stabbed. Sorry. Allergies, so I'm a bit sick. Probably won't sound too great for a few days. I don't really have much more to say. The game's pretty simple, but tomorrow I would like to upload a horror video of some description, probably over one of my favorite horror games from my childhood, that being the Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth. So I hope you all look forward to that. I'm going to try and get past this level, and then that'll be it until tomorrow. Well, I think that'll be all for today, YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this video and look forward to something tomorrow. Good night, y'all.